Good evening. In this video, I will talk to you about the rules that I just came up with. I am a man. So here are the rules. I wrote 4 of them. To the spouse. 1. Please don't leave the kids alone with grandma. The kids end up watching too much internet. Take them with you or leave them with me. Please. That's 1. 2. This rule's for the spouse. Rule number 2. Don't offer me food. Please don't offer me food. I will come to your house right next door to eat. 3. Don't come to my room in the mornings except to give me sex or to talk about the children. Yes. Because I have a certain brain here and I am focused on what I need to do. 4. This one's for the children. If you love me, then come spend time with me. Notice how I go visit my mother, your grandmother. She's in the other room over there. Minimum once a day, but usually 3 times a day. 3 times a day, I go to the kitchen, I get my food, and I go eat in front of her. Sometimes, well, when she's sleeping, I go back and eat on the dining table. However, I go to her. And then when she sees me eating, usually she says she wants food. So I ask her if she wants to go eat in the dining table, and she'll say yes or no. And if she says no, then I finish eating, and then I go get food for her and I sit with her while she eats. If she doesn't say anything negative to me. If she's grouchy, then I go in with my food. I wheel it in with the little cart. And if she's grouchy, then I wheel the cart right back out. Or I leave the cart and grab my food and go back out and eat. The reason I leave the cart there in her room is like today I saw her glasses on the floor. I believe they were her glasses. And I put the cart right over them. And not to crush them, but like so that nobody would see the cart is right over the glasses. Because I could pick up the glasses for her. However, if she's going to have a sloppy table with overcrowded, no desk space, no top space, no surface area, and it's right next to her bed, and so therefore the glasses fall on the floor, then I'm not gonna go fix her mess. I did notice that the green dress was not on the floor today. And yesterday, I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. So these are the only rules I came up with. And what with other people? What are the rules about other people? I don't really deal with other people. Now, I made a video already about why I don't go to the park and how some people can't swim, and that would put stress on me because I would have to go save them. For instance, my own mother told me how she went to the park, the water park, and some parents, they let the little kids go too far into the deep section. deep for little kids. My grandma, my mother, up to her chest or her neck area, and so I believe that that's too deep for the. I believe, like grandmothers, it's too deep for children that are younger than 10 years old. And I don't want to be around parents that don't take care of their own kids. For instance, when I go to the park, I hear some children screaming and screaming today, right? And I don't go near over there. I'm at least, well, if it was a block away. I'm far away from that, but I can hear it. And then the times that my son wants to go over there, usually it's him, then we do a bolo and we say, is any of the parents, if any of the parents are smoking, then we get out of there. If any of the kids are climbing on the outside of the slide, then we get out of there. If any of the kids are throwing dirt, we get out of there. Wood chips. What else? If any of the older kids are up there, bigger than my son, then it's not a little kid's day. Let's get out of there. If there are only little kids around, well, my son is careful, and usually he won't run without looking and crash over them. And all of that, I'll put a stipulation in it, is after you play with me Tai Chi Chuan, or you talk with me, or you do something. For instance, I'm not going to take you, like if you were my son or daughter, I'm not going to take you to the park and have you just sit and play with your iPod while I'm standing there. No. No, we're going to have some type of interaction. I'm not going to force it. I remember I used to take a bat, a tennis balls, a basketball, soccer balls. I used to take a bunch of stuff, a tennis racket. And we used to play. Or at least even sometimes we never used any of those things. But I took them just so that they would be available. And that's when I used to drive her first minivan. This is the second one. Alright, so those are the rules. Do I see women as sex objects? That's a good question. And where did I get all of this idea? Only come to my room to give me love or intimacy, or in plain English, what I call plain English, sex. I got it from a novella that they were talking about. I overheard them talking about. The man was telling his girlfriend that all he wanted from her was love, hugs, and kisses, and for her to make him feel happy. And that was her purpose in his life. That's what he told her. And I had to do the same because, well, I don't want to argue, and the only way I don't argue is by staying straight and narrow like this. May I help you? What do you want? In Spanish, ¿qué desea que yo haga? And sometimes I have to repeat that 3 times because she goes around or something. ¿Qué desea que yo haga? I've met one man that was my teacher. He was like that. For instance, on one day, they were picking out nicknames for everybody. And he just said, "Don't call me that." I mean, he wasn't going to play. He's a very now he'll he did one time. He said, "Does anybody read the Oprah magazine?" Now there are boys and girls, there are men and women in that college classroom, and I raised my hand. And I, number one, I'm white. Number two, I appear to be white. Am I still white? So I raised my hand, and he looked at me. He thought, I said, now I really lost my train of thought. But then I explained how one of the daycare moms, she wasn't a daycare mom, she was actually one of those host families where she invited children from other countries to come over and live in her house. And we did the same. So anyway, she gave us a 2-year subscription of Oprah magazines. I mean, it was a box. It was a nice amount. And I used to read that. What's going on? All right, some sort of... Oh, excuse me. Oh boy. Some sort of update. So, if you stay serious and you don't smile... Oh, I remember the Marines. People that used to give me a hard time. I remember one Marine, he was a supervisor as a security guard where I was the receptionist, and he was younger than I am, but he always wore his suit, his dress suit. A suit, right, a suit with a tie and everything. I had my tie on and everything, but at that moment we were not forced to wear that suit when it was too hot, but he would always wear it. So I radioed him and told him I had a problem with a visitor. And he approached the man and, "May I help you?" But it's a "may I help you, I'm going to rip your neck off, you know. May I help you? And the man said, "I want to visit upstairs. I was just there 2 days ago, and I want to go visit. Do you know the person's last name? Or do you know the apartment?" Is what he first asked. "No." Then he said it was the 7th floor. "Do you know the person's last name?" "1. Do you know the apartment?" The guy couldn't remember it. "Just the 7th floor." Do you know the person's last name?" And then the guy went, "No." That's 2. Do you know his phone number? "No." Is he expecting you? And the guy went, "No. Sir, I'm not able to help you." And the guy was like, but that guy was giving me a hard time. So finally, and instantly I called the supervisors. I was probably the crybaby security officer. Anything happened, I used to call the supervisor. Anything. When one of the residents was complaining about there not being enough towels for him to go to the swimming pool because there was no rule on how many you could get, and for some reason the millionaires, usually the husband would come down and he would say, "I need 4 towels." And then I don't know if their wives or girlfriends eventually came down or not, but they would run out of towels. So we had to. Did we call the manager for that one, or the supervisor asked me to call the manager what to do with it? I mean, these are nitpicky things, right? However, handled the wrong way, and we instantly, security guards get fired. So what happened next was, I believe the supervisor chose not to call the manager for that purpose. And so the next day, the resident had a complaint about the security supervisor. And the manager actually backed up the security supervisor and then wrote a letter to every single apartment. Security had to go deliver those. I think they had to go deliver all of those. I'm not sure they mailed them. They probably slipped them in every door. And this was the big boss, the day shift supervisor, had to do that while I was at my desk at the reception. And what happened was, she only had to speak to this one resident, but she ended up making it a law for the whole building. You get 2 towels per person. She didn't say apartment, but she said per person, something like that. And then the following weekend, I think it was the same, yes, it was the same resident. And this time his complaint was that there were no chairs for himself and his wife to sit by the swimming pool. And these things happen in the weekend when the manager's not around. And so the following Monday, she wrote another letter. Oh, the resident's complaint was valid though. She said, that dog of apartment 907 is on that chair at the pool deck, and I am not allowed to get a lounge chair. So the manager wrote a letter to everybody in the building again, and this one said, because the security guards, we had already read the rules about dogs and things like that. There was nothing, we couldn't get the dog off the chair. I mean, we could have, but we probably would have been something transferred out of the building or something, or well, that's another way of firing you. So we ended up reading, and the only rule we had about the dogs is that they had to be 30 pounds or less, and that they had to be on a leash. There was no rule that said no dogs on the pool deck. So the following letter was the second letter, right? The first one was only 2 towels per person. The second letter was no dogs on the pool deck. I mean, we used to read these letters and just crack up. The third letter, what was the third letter? Because he did find something else to complain about the following weekend. And these are people that only come once a year for a month, maybe a little bit longer. And this one said, this letter finally said, this condominium, to all residents, this condominium will not provide hotel-like amenities to the visitors? No, to the residents, right? Like, okay, one thing would be that was not allowed to take the lounge chairs and take them from the pool deck and take them into the beach. That was not allowed. Another one was, well, the towels and then the dogs and things like that. Hotel-like amenities. What was the other one that I remember? It was just difficult. All of these were judgment calls, things that were not written down plainly in the book that we all had to read about the rules of the condominium. For instance, one rule that came up with eventually after there were some incidents in the jacuzzi or in the game room where they had a ping pong table or in the weight room. One of the ways this condominium by this manager dealt with the visitors and the guests and the grandchildren or the children of the owners was by saying that the owner of the apartment has to be with the guest in the jacuzzi, in the pool area, in the weight room, in the game room, in the TV room. And what was happening before was that the teenagers, they were smoking cigarettes inside, or someone was smoking cigarettes. The young people, I believe, were smoking cigarettes in these areas because all security would do was go unlock the door and they could use the room. Just, what apartment is it? Okay, I'll write your name down. And then I would go open the door, not myself, but the supervisor actually would go open the door. And the way the manager dealt with it, it ended everybody's pleasure. Because if grandma was not coming down to the jacuzzi, then you could not use the jacuzzi or the swimming pool or the game room. And many of these young people, they had girlfriends or boyfriends. And they were just not allowed to be alone in those rooms. So that actually kicked everybody. They could sit in their cars, I guess, in the garage and make out or whatever they were doing. But or they could just open the beach gate and go walk in the beach and do whatever they were going to do. This happened after there was a fight with one of the residents and some people that were on the beach, young people on the beach and young residents. So that's how that was taken care of. And then I remember one time in another condo, I got bothered by the mother because I wouldn't let in her son, who was maybe 10 years old, who had just been dropped off from school and by some driver, right? And then he said, "Open the door." Right? No, he didn't even say that. He just walked in and expected me to press the button to open the door, but like he almost hit himself against the door. Then he didn't even look. He looked. "Open the door." Then I said, "Who are you, sir?" And then he instantly went, "Just open the door. I live in apartment 12, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Then you have the ID card to open the door yourself, sir." And then he just called up his mother. "Mother, this security guard doesn't want to let me upstairs." I mean, they act like very powerful men, and they're only 10 years old, maybe 12, you know. So then I got a phone call from my boss to stop messing around with the family members of the residents. So you got to learn which condominium, which apartment building, right? Which one wants strict rules and which one has do whatever you want rules. At the other condo where the one I talked about with what the manager was doing, we had one situation. What was it? I'm talking about the condo where the grandma had to be in the weight room with whoever wanted to use the weight room, the grandchildren or visitors. Oh yes, there was a young woman, maybe 10 years old, slim, and she said, okay, send me upstairs. Because the elevators don't work unless I press a code or something, right? Or unless they have the key or something like that. And instead of doing that, I called her mother because she had like 3 boys with her. And those 3 boys didn't live in that apartment, by the way. They were visitors from outside the building. But they were with her, and they just walked with her. And so I just called up her mother. Your daughter, ma'am, wants me to open the apartment, and she has the company of 3 boys. I mean, but then even that one, I didn't get in trouble for that one. She said, I forgot what the lady said. Let them up, or I forgot what she said. Oh, I believe she said to let them use the game room or something else. Which is fine in a way, because there's a lobby bathroom, and the game room is a nice room for them to visit each other. But I don't know if I broke the rules that time and let them into the game room, or if or if it was before the rules had been rewritten by the manager with those letters that she was writing out, that the grandmother or the owner of the apartment had to be in the building, in the game room or the pool area. All right. Enjoy your life. Be better than I am. Thank you.